Good evening. For those of you on a weekday have decided to be here, partly of course to listen to the Gatam and then also to understand what it means to be a woman in real estate development. We were trying to actually, as we were programming for the Women's Day, we said let's look at some offbeat topics because normally on the 8th, yesterday I think there were at least 5,000 events held across the city around Women's Day, and they typically follow a particular template. So here we said let's try and go off the beaten track. So we fished around for some ideas. We said let's look for sectors where women in leadership positions are relatively underrepresented, and that's how we chose the women in real estate development as a possible idea to talk about. There were other ideas in terms of women in offbeat careers that I think I'll have to wait for next year. And women in STEM was another idea we thought about, but actually women in STEM, and particularly in a city like Bangalore, has become more mainstream compared to what it was some time ago. So over the next 40 minutes or so, we'll just engage the three ladies on my right. And I like to think of this whole thing as, just like you have Bollywood royalty, in a sense, these people are reality royalty. And you'll see why.
Okay. We'll be glad we dressed up.
And also, in my head, there's a Kajol or a Kareena out here. There is an Anushka Sharma, and there's a Neetu Kapoor. And if you can try guessing the connection, you will figure out as to how I make these connections. So I'm actually going to start with, on my right, Uzma, who's coming under the Kajol Kareena category.
Okay,
so Uzma has been, born in a sense into the royalty, which is reality royalty. Her dad's Irfan, prestige, very, very well known. So that's not a choice that she exercised. But like Kajol and Kareena in my head, there is an inherent talent that Uzma has got, which has, in a way, shown through over the years. And my idea really is to try and get a sense of each of their individual journeys, starting with Uzma. So Uzma, to get started, the thing that struck me as we spoke is you started an idea called Sublime. You were born into this family, but when you were 10 years old, you came up with something called Sublime, which now is a major brand by itself. So just walk us through that decision to do Sublime and what Sublime is today.
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure. Thank you for comparing me to Kareena and Kajol. Sorry, I think
that is on the talent front. Okay. They also were born into royalty, but
yeah, I look nothing like it. Or whatever. Thank you for that. Thank you for having me. So like I told you, when you're born into a family, you just take things for granted. You think, okay, you'll just get everything easily. But my parents didn't do that to me. And I really thank them from the bottom of my heart. Okay, they taught me the value of every little thing, whether it's people, which is the most important thing, relationships, and of course, money. So, yes, I was 9. And my mom said, I want to give you pocket money. And I'm like, Mom, why pocket money? You're giving me home, you're giving me clothes, you're giving me education and love. I don't need anything more. What will I do with pocket money? So she said, no, beta, you will have a few things that you love, you'll want to buy. I said, if I want to buy something, I'll ask you. But I love music. So I had a passion for music. And she said, why don't you do something about it? And at that time, when I was 9, it was 1997, 98. Cassettes were the thing. So she said, why don't you record? I said, listen, nobody's going to like my compilation because everybody has different choices. And I learned music because of my mom and my uncle. We used to spend hours together. So Celine Dion, Belinda Carlisle, to Kishore Kumar, Udit Narayan, so on and so forth. So she said, why don't you compile? You never know. So I don't know, maybe because my family loved me. I did have a couple of people who used to order my tapes, and I used to call it Heartbeat. I was a child. Then as I grew up, tapes were no more in vogue. CDs came in. And she said, see, heartbeat sounds really immature. Now you're like 11. We need to find another name and something else for you to do, because I really appreciate that, you want to earn. Even that one CD I bought, or after selling the 2 CDs, I bought a pair of shoes or whatever I bought. I mean, when you spend your own money, that 1 rupee, it has a lot more thing. You'll take care of it, right? So she said, okay, let's find a name. And my mom is the one who found the name Sublime. And sublime means inspiring awe. And that's how it came about. I did do event management, and she taught me, she didn't actually teach me to bake. She said, okay, apart from event management, why don't you do something else? But on weekends, it cannot disturb your studies. I was an average kid, but I still had to. So she said, okay, you learn a few things and you bake, and that's how Sublime came about when I was then. And then now, today, it's something else.
We will come back to continue with your story as I involve the others. So now we go to Neetu Kapoor. Any marks for guessing who's Neetu Kapoor? No, you got it wrong. It's Aparna, because she married into realty royalty. She was an architect in her own right. And then she married into, Venkatamana Associates. So most of us here, I'm sure, know the incomparable Naresh Narasimhan. So this is Mrs. Aparna Naresh. I don't know whether to commiserate or whatever, but so she actually, after her architecture, course, etc., she worked with someone else, and then she joined a family legacy business, which is a leading name in architecture in Bangalore, and that's Venkatamana Associates. So, Aparna, I just wanted to ask you, it's obviously partly a choice that got made through your marriage to join the business. What did it feel like to join a firm which already has, I think by the time you joined, it was already in existence for a fair amount of time? Yes. So what did it feel like going as the Bahu into that household where they already had a name for the kind of work that they were doing? And your father-in-law, your husband, and your brother-in-law were involved in the business, and suddenly here comes another architect into the family. So how were the early days, and what were the challenges, if any?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The mic is working. Yeah. Firstly, it's strange, isn't it, to begin with that we have to be referred to through some person who, the other gender in our family. It's a little strange, but then I can't complain. We probably it worked to our advantage, and
but actually, Aparna, I'm also referred as Hema's husband. It works both ways.
Yeah.
Actually, it's my calling card.
Yeah.
It's another matter that in yesterday's session she threw me under the bus.
But it's true that I was asking Sandhya that why real estate? Why did we choose this topic? And you answered it when you started the whole discussion. Because it is true that in real estate, women are underrepresented in the top positions.
Exactly.
That's for sure. But as consultants and as people who are leading teams for architecture, at least real estate is a bunch of different things. You have the builder, then you have the consultants, service consultants and all of that, marketing and all that. Then you also have architects.
And then you have the realtors and the others also.
Yeah. So you have to, first someone has to conceive the project, and that's the builder who puts in the money, etc. Then you have consultants or experienced people. That is, they could be electrical, they could be all sorts of service consultants and design consultants, which are architects. So in the field of architecture, women are very well represented. So there is just, so I'm wondering whether at all there is, why worry? Even if we are not fully represented in this real estate, I am thinking that it may be that women are quite well represented in so many other fields where men are not. Like it could be education, healthcare. Sorry.
But no, you're dodging my question. You've gone into this family with the thing and you're taking me somewhere
I'm
else.
sorry. We'll get... Okay, coming back to your question.
The reason, Aparna, where I'm coming from, it is a fact that the architecture sector has loads of ladies working.
Yeah.
But in leadership positions,
Yes.
it's very few. And I'm really trying to understand that. And when you deal with clients and the like, and the firm deals with the kind of experience that where's the man in the room kind of stuff, those are the things I'm really trying to get a sense. Is that a non-issue or is it still an issue?
100%. You've just, and you've got the thing correctly. It is an issue, mainly because I feel in many firms, in most of the decision-making roles, it's the men. And although the women may have equal experience, if not more, and they may be really much more competent, but I think they do not have that execution background because they are not able to go to the site, and that requires dealing with labor, hardships, all sorts of things, time. You have to invest that much time. There's no 9 to 5 kind of thing when you go to the site. And if you are not from that background really, then you are discounted, and it's assumed that you cannot rise up in the decision-making roles. That I have seen not in the architecture profession, but I have seen in the other parts of real estate. And therefore, they don't become the decision makers, although they may be equally talented, equally experienced, and having all the material. And the other thing is imposter syndrome, which all of us know, that women think they may have absolutely full knowledge of all things, but they feel, how do I know? Maybe they know better. It's a natural thing. I myself go through it so many times.
If you don't even speak up, you might have mansplaining where the other person makes it clear, maybe you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens all the time. And yeah, so it could be all those things that do not make women come. And plus, women have other interests. I mean, for me, I don't want to really prove myself in real estate. I'm quite happy doing so many other things that women have multiple facets. Men, unfortunately, do not have that, I think.
But at any point of time, I mean, just the last follow-up question, I'll come back to you later because you're still dodging.
Coming back to the base.
No, the question really is, did it ever strike you that you could be the person in charge? Because your competence we know, and I mean, as I said, all
yeah, it did, Ravi, you're right, it did, but a little too late. By then I was in the middle of a family, and I started getting interested in so many other things. And I said, when I got married, coming back to your question, before I got married, I was working and I was doing pretty well in some other firm, and quite an important designer in that architecture firm. But then one gets married, and then I worked in that other firm, but due to conflict of interest, I couldn't continue. Right. So I had to move back to Venkataraman Associates. And that time, it was only Naresh and I, and my father-in-law was there. But I had to sort of be only the designer and take a back seat. So I was good at drawing, sketching, and imagining, and all those things, which it was okay for women to be involved in. But I was not, when I began, I was not the client-facing person,
right. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and all that. And slowly, I was kind of not quite with it that time, and I mean, all this women's empowerment and all was not a big thing in those days. So I let it be, and I was enjoying myself, but unfortunately I was also, so I let it be, and then by the time I woke up and said, what am I doing here? It was a little too late.
Anyway, we'll come back to your current times. Moving on, I mean, I mentioned Anushka. I mean, it could be Anushka, it could be Vidya Balan. The idea really being, you are not part of the realty sector, realty royalty as I called it. Like, she was born into it, she married into it. You came from outside and entered this sector. What I found fascinating is...
I was just saying she made it.
She made it. Yeah. And what I found fascinating, she's here in this chip design firm. I mean, she's actually a software engineer. And from there, she graduates and chooses to make a career in real estate, and starting with Lodha Developers, and we'll talk a bit about it. And then from working for someone, she moves also on to now being on her own. So Vyoma, what I'm really trying to understand, because from the outside, we have a perception that the real estate industry is dirty or messy or whatever you want to call it. There's black, there's white, there's a whole lot of things. And it's not normally a port of call for a woman, I mean, I'm really talking about the hardcore real estate development because you're really in that sense there. So what prompted you to think real estate? And as you told me, you said you're going to end by telling the ladies saying, go for it. So just give us a sense of how these choices were made and how you got to where you are right now. And she's got a mic. It's on.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So thanks, Ravi, for having me here. It's a beautiful place. I always wanted to visit it. So you gave me an opportunity to do that today.
That's also part of our strategy. People are living under a rock. They're not coming to BIC. And we said the only way to get heavyweights here is to put them on the street.
So tell other 20 people about it. Yeah. Great. So like Ravi mentioned, to be honest, real estate was not a choice. It was an accident. It happened right in the middle of the 2008-9 financial crisis, graduating out of B school. Right here in our backyard, I am Bangalore, and you're doing this fancy internship in Hong Kong and London and all that with investment banks. You come back to campus for your second year and boom, there's this financial crisis. Everybody's losing jobs. People are not sure where you're going to get placed, and all your parents back home are hoping, bachche ne yahan se padhai kari hai, bahut achhi career banegi and all. And we're all like being told on campus, just take the first job you get. Just get placed. Okay, so earn a living, pay your loans and just get out of there with a job because abhi izzat ka sawal hai. It's a very bad market out there. So there comes Lodha, and Lodha comes before what they call day zero on campus. So day zero is this very prestigious day in B school campuses where all the firms where everybody wants to get recruited come.
And I think you go out of placement if you get a job.
If you get a job that day or any day in the place, because there are not enough jobs that year, and there are more students. So my only objective was don't want to get into the rat race at all. So before day zero, there are these companies who come for people who have some work experience, right? So they come and say, okay, if you have 1 or 2 years of work before MBA, we're gonna get you on lateral hiring.
And so you had in chip designing.
So then Lodha comes and it's a funny interview, and Mr. Karthik, who was the CMO, just says, why do you want to join us? And I'm like, I did my internship in finance, and finance is like ruined right now. Nobody's going to pick me, but I love marketing. Here's my grades. I'm doing great in marketing courses. Do you want to hire me? So he's like, will you do sales for 6 months? Like, I'll do anything. I don't want to enter placements. So he's like, okay, come. There's an offer. And I hated Mumbai. I'm like, I'll get placed anywhere but Mumbai. So he said, you have Mumbai. You have to do sales. You want to come on board. So I asked my placement officer, do I have a shortlist from HUL or PNG? It's a dream for a marketer. And they say no. So like, okay, Lodha, le lo, chalte hai, 6 mahine mein nikal jayenge, But once, entered this whole world of real estate, you figure that by accident, it was one of the best things to, happen to me. Because there is so much underrepresentation, not just of gender, but also of a lot of qualified professionals in this sector. It's always been a very, homegrown, promoter-driven companies. And Lodha was one of the first companies who was opening up to getting professionals from outside, trying to do things differently in Indian real estate, right? And it gave a canvas to do some very, very, very interesting things and be that big fish in a small pond. And once you get used to that big fish in small pond kind of environment, you can't leave it for anything else. So I did try to escape real estate because there was still that taboo. Did 2.5 years in Lodha.
The family was okay with it. Nobody had sleepless nights.
No, they do have sleepless nights all the time, but it's okay. Like they get, when you're a daughter, they have sleepless nights till you get married, so you have to live with it. Yeah. So there was a time when I tried to leave, and my boss told me then, this is the stupidest decision you're ever making. Did 3 months in a tech startup, and then came back to real estate. And and have stuck to it ever since. So that way, it's a great opportunity. It's a great field to be in. You to just find your forte.
And I want to come back to more that you did in real estate, but it's interesting. So your Lodha was which year?
2009 to 12.
Okay, so I will tell you a story about 1983 IIM Ahmedabad. I'm 81 batch, but this is a legendary IMA story. I won't name the people concerned. So, and in the context of sales. So there was this interview, and the firm was a very, very well-known FMCG. Actually, it was Levers. And so there was this girl in the batch who wanted to get into sales which was absolute taboo. I mean, talking about back in 83, they would take them for marketing and communication, other things, but not sales. But she was adamant, went for the interview, and the interviewer tried to de-sell the whole thing, said it's very tough, we don't have ladies in the sales, you have to go for rural areas, all our sales reps there are men, and late night you'll have to stay in some vague villages and all that stuff. And often sometimes you don't even get enough rooms and you'll have to share a room with this sales rep or some such thing. So the interviewer rhetorically, and this is part of IMA legend, the interviewer rhetorically asked the lady, what do you think will happen with all this scenario being built and being in the same room? And she replied, saying, to whom? And she got the job. So she was the first hire of a lady by large FMCG companies, because she just said, to whom are you worried about? It's not me for sure. And so, and of course now it's not even okay to talk about why do you want to join sales?
Yeah.
Now, Uzma, coming back to you, now we move ahead. So you're now getting into, so question really is, you're getting into education and the like. There's another interesting part of your background that you chose to leave a college very quickly, a college that we shall not name in this city, which she went because her dad said start there because it's good to know finance or some accounts. So just walk us through that. Were you being prepared to join the family business in some sense of the term, or it was assumed you will join the family business? And your education choices and how that panned out for you?
Shall I dodge the question like she did?
That was pretty good at that.
So like I said, 1998 I finished my 10th, 96 I finished my 10th and I did my 12th. And that's the time when BBM came into thing, and I really wanted to do BBM because after doing ICSE and ISE using a little bit of a grey matter, you want to go out there, get ready for the real world, because in school they actually don't get you ready for the real world. And BBM, what I heard was, you do presentations, you go out there, you do your internships and all of it. So, I mean, today I can speak to my father. At that time, it was like whatever mom and dad said, you listen to them. We were those kind of kids. So then my dad's like, नहीं बेटा, मैंने B.Com किया है, तो आपको भी B.Com करना है. I never asked him, are you getting me ready to join the business? Because I never thought about it. Even today, I don't. So I said, okay, fine. He got me admission. I went to whichever college to do B.Com. After being in a class of 20 people.
It's a college near Shangri-La.
No, let's not. It's not the college. It's me. It's not the college. There are a lot of people who've graduated very happy from there. So I don't want to talk. It's about me. After being in a class of 25, you walk into a class of 80, your teacher doesn't know. Whatever, the education system. I survived there for a year. My mom's always been my best friend. So then I tell my mom, listen, I'll finish my first year exams. I can't survive more than that. She's like, yeah, I'm being very honest here. She's like, what do you want to do? And from the time I'm like 5, I've seen my father work so hard. The company from nothing is today, touch wood, God's blessings, it's doing wonderfully well. So I want to join dad. So she's like, okay, go to the office. Obviously, I've stepped into the office and my father's like, what are you doing here? I said, I want to work for you. So then he's like, a person without a degree? Sorry, you cannot be here. I said, see, dad, I don't want your chair. You have taught me that you have to start from the bottom and I want to learn. 1 year, he didn't speak with me. I was in the marketing department. I did the sales, so I met clients, etc., etc., etc. Then in our community, when you're 20, everybody's like, oh, she's not married, there's something wrong. So there was our Muslim community, 18, you have to be married. So I didn't know all this was happening. My mom didn't allow me, didn't allow all this to think. So I was very happy, 2 years in Prestige from 98 to about 2000. And suddenly, boom, she comes one day and she says, you're getting engaged. And I'm like, okay. So like my father said, go do BCom. Okay. My mom said, get married. Fine. But I was very lucky. My then fiancé husband today realized that I wanted to study. It's not that I didn't want an education. I really wanted an education because without education, you're absolutely nothing. So he said, okay, and he was in London. He was doing his hospitality management. He found universities for me, and then I went there. I got into the 3 best. I chose one. After that, no turning back. Dean's list every semester. I got my final year was a scholarship year. So the father who never came, I'm not complaining about him. Please don't tell him this. Oh, okay, then I'm stopped. Whatever. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm married now. When the child gets married, what happens? I'm in UK. I'll go get a job. I'll do what I have to do. And now we were both working. One day my dad comes, emotional blackmail. Beta, when are you coming back? I said, do you want me to come back? He's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, okay, we had decided because my husband was finished his hospitality, he was doing his MBA, getting a job, all of it. He's like, no, without you.
Finished your education also there.
So yeah, we were. So he said, no, I want to expand. I want to do this. Without you, it's not going to happen. And by that time, it had already done.
Him to his knees.
No. By that time, he had expanded into different cities, different verticals. It was all just emotional thing. Anyway, I came back to India, and that's.
Just one follow-up, Uzma. And I know you talk about your dad fondly. Who was your role model?
Both my parents. Both.
And in what ways? I mean, what made them role models? What was special about your dad that you noticed? And of course, mom you mentioned also was your best friend.
Yeah. So, sorry, I get emotional.
No,
both, because I believe in a child's life, both parents play a very important role. I know there are single parents, but both parents make a kid. And my father, we were into textile. His brother and him went into real estate in 1986, learning, getting into different things, taking risks. Today are where we are today. So him, because he's so passionate, whatever his age is, he's got the energy, he's hands-on, first one in the office, last one to leave, so involved, and that's his passion. My mom, because she's been my best friend, my biggest support, and my father's support. Yes, she was a housewife, not because she chose to, because my brother was special, she had a special child. So she gave her everything for my brother. He's no more. But not one day did she say, I need to go to the doctor or whatever. She fought the battle on her own. And she's a very strong lady.
she is. I mean, many of us know her, and I would vouch for that in every respect.
Yeah, and I think that having a strong woman or a partner in your life is very important, because without that family support and backing, you can't do anything.
So, Aparna, coming to you. So now you're in the firm, and we are now you're working. You said initially you went more into sketches and stuff like that, but I know that you grew into much more than that. I mean, you built a niche for yourself within the firm, and even today I have heard clients of the firm say that they rely on you, and they would rather meet you rather than anyone else, because more things get done by meeting you. So obviously over time you have built that niche, etc. So just walk us through in terms of how you built that credibility and getting more responsibilities. Did you have to fight for it? It came automatically. They saw you in a certain sense. So just give us a sense of how you grew within the firm, because you're in this peculiar position. All said and done, I mean, you're the daughter-in-law, but you still have to prove yourself and claim your own space. Just give us a sense of that journey.
Yeah, actually, to begin with, it was not just sketching. Sketching was just a tool that I was more into conceiving of designs and, coming up with master plans and ideas. Because of the place which I worked in, I really got a very good understanding of how to go about designing at all. I mean, the germ of an idea, etc., conceiving a design. And then the only way to represent it was by sketching, because those days there were no tools like 3D and all that. And I had a flair for it. So I used to make these drawings to represent my idea. And so that was given to me. I mean, the firm used to look to me at that time for any ideas for any designers to just come up with all the projects. The design was done by me and then drawn by others. So I didn't really have to prove myself there. It was a natural thing. And except that I was not so much into the business of it. Into client-facing or finance.
But managing the team, was that your bottom line?
Yeah, those teams the projects that I did, I had those teams which I used to manage. So all that was there. So I was not so much into and the business of it.
But would you have liked to have done that?
Now, in retrospect, yes. At that time, I was happy doing I had the luxury to sit and think of the project and come up with ideas. And that was quite a luxury. When someone was doing the grudge, I felt that was all the grunge work was done by others. I was quite happy. But now I feel I really should have focused on that too, because then you get a full picture of running a practice, isn't it?
Right.
So I wish I had that.
And in your life, who would be the models that, it could be here or outside the firm, somebody whom you say, look, this is the kind of person who inspired you, man or woman, whoever.
In an architectural...
In your overall work life and your career choices and what you've done, somebody whom you see as an inspirational figure out there. You don't have any.
I can't recall suddenly.
You could say Naresh for the video,
I'm not able to recall like that suddenly. I'm sorry.
So you set your own path. Each time it was you figuring out, and it's not that you had somebody in mind. Saying that.
I loved architecture. I joined the course because I loved architecture, which is not normally the case because people do it because that's the last choice. But for me, it was always that ever since I was in the 8th standard.
Give me an architect whose work you really like.
Suddenly you caught me there.
Okay.
I'll tell you later sometime during the conversation.
So Vyoma, the segue, she said she wishes that she had put her foot down and got a little more of the client-facing, be part of strategy, think in terms of things. You did that in more ways than one across the firms that you did. So tell us what it meant to be the person who plays that kind, as a woman playing the role where you're giving strategic inputs, you're actually conceiving products, and also having in working for others, having some level of client-facing roles, and now in your own firm, meeting up with clients on your own steam. So give us a sense of what that was like.
So you mean specifically as a woman or
more
as a woman, right? From that perspective.
Because we're just saying that, as she said, naturally, those roles were not given to her. She was seen in a certain set, which is the reality of the sector.
True.
So that's
So it has always been about going and asking for what you want, right? So even when I started out the journey with my first company, it was an experiment for them. Let's take these young MBA grads and then let's see if they find a place in the system, right? So it was more about doing sales and when you've had an education you worked so hard for, you cannot do that beyond a point in time where you have to just, take these South Bombay families and tell them, hey, you're going to get marble, you're going to get home automation. At some point you start feeling that you want intellectually something more gratifying. So at that point in time also, it was about an ask, going to the boss and saying that, hey, I want to do something different. I see a lot of gaps in your system. I see things I could fix. And he said, okay, I'll give you 2 months. Do whatever you want to do. And I said, if I don't get something that I want in 2 months, we can mutually take a call. I'll move on. Right? So at that point in time was when I started out the sales strategy team in Lodha. There was no concept of sales strategy before. Sales was more about the promoter decides the price, this is the P&L, this is what we need, and there's a room for negotiation. The sales head and the promoter decide what the buyer gets. Right? So then started applying a lot of these concepts that you learn in your education and saying that, hey, there's a concept of discounts. We invented things like SCUD, there was a missile called Scud, and started these interesting incentive programs. There used to be, and that is the most fun I've ever had in the real estate sector. So used to make these incentive programs on the lines of Harry Potter one season, on the lines of KBC the other season, and just having a great time out there, right? But the support of the system is what enabled this. No other builder in the country that at those times, right? This is like about 13, 14 years ago, would have let 26, 27-year-old come and make so many changes in the system out there.
And the behavior exhibited is a rarity, which is going and asking for it, because normally the understanding is women are diffident, they hold themselves back.
Yeah.
Would I be right? I mean, I know it's a generalization, but women going and seeking it is relatively rare.
Absolutely. So that is one thing. Like, there used to be, when you were in sales strategy as an individual contributor, you have to work with these late 30s, 40s kind of sales heads, right?
And
who are men, right? Men. And most of these men, especially in sales, they're flamboyant. They are always a little proud about who they are. They carry themselves in a different way. They're not used to being given gyan to, right? So you're going there as this young girl and saying, I think you should do sales a little differently, and then saying
how
that.
Was that received?
So that I had to learn very early on, right? To go to these people and say that, hey, you're so great, right? But I think I'm going to help you become a little better. And when the boss comes for a review, tell him what I'm telling you now, right? So that he's going to be really happy with you. I'm giving you a tip. Boss is upset with this. I'm going to make the template for you. So for a long time, for almost a year, I was only in the background because they didn't want me to give the idea. So the idea was going from behind, me making their decks, me giving them Excel templates.
Very deep management insight that actually you can do very well by making your boss feel very good in front of his boss.
Absolutely. So and in this sector, it's male dominated, right?
Yes.
So it's always been that. So there are times when saying that, okay, for you to look better, I'm going to be in the background, and that's when people started accepting, saying that, hey, I am going to use your help, and they started coming back.
Correct.
Saying that, okay, I need help from you. I know that what you say works, so now start helping me and all. And if you have a person, if you have a manager who understands that you are behind the scenes, if you don't have those internal politics, then good for you. I thankfully was noticed by my manager, and he knew what I was doing.
And you also, in your career growth, you moved companies. So was that driven by better pay, better prospects, or that you felt that you did everything that you could do in your earlier firm and that made you think about the next thing?
More of the latter. So even in Brigade, it was almost like Lodha. I just approached Mr. Jaishankar and his team and said, hey, just take me. I want to do something for you, because just take me, because you are the brand I've heard of the most, because I was on Bannerghatta Road and there's Brigade Millennium and all of those around, right? So it was more like, okay, I know you're a fantastic firm, but I see there's lots to do here, so just take me. And he said during the offer, saying, don't make me regret taking you. I was there for 5 years, right? Started the strategy team there, was a part of a lot of initiatives, ended up heading marketing and all. And a lot of this again started with that. My manager being the head of sales, there were times when I would actually tell him that, hey, in the sales review, go and ask these guys these hard questions. You are not asking hard questions. So I started out asking hard questions, and in 2 reviews, I was told that, please don't get that girl in the room the next time.
You would be perceived as being aggressive. That's what happens.
So Brigade is a very nice culture. Okay, it's a great culture. It's known as one of those best places to work and all. And nobody's used to getting asked hard questions, right?
Not too by a woman.
Yeah, that too by a woman, a young one, and in sales that too. They've all been 5 years in the company, 10 years in the company, and and I'm like, ऐसा तो मुंबई में चलेगा ही नहीं. You lose your job if you come and tell your manager you've not achieved your sales targets, and you have your note saying, last time you said in this week you will do 10 sales, you have done only 3, your funnel conversion is so much. How do you justify that? And and they're all staring at their boss and like, कौन है इसको निकालो. So there also it was that you tell your manager, I'm going to give you your notes, next time go and ask all these questions, and then you slowly become a part of the system.
I'd like to say that it takes a woman to be able to strategize how to peg herself slowly and understand the psychology of her team, her manager, and therefore step back in the beginning and then slowly make herself
I know.
indispensable and then grow. I wonder if it was a guy in her place, they would be able to do that.
Yeah, the ego comes in the way.
That
The
is
ego
so true.
always comes in
and
the
also
way. Yeah.
it takes a woman to set up the man for the fall. The guy doesn't realize it, that he's being played.
But isn't that what marriage is? I feel that's what marriage is. When you set up everything at home.
See, there's full agreement, Aparna. There's full agreement.
Yeah, that's what a marriage is. I mean, you set up everything in the house so that, I mean, it's all held together. But you're the one who's doing the part at the back, and it's fun. I like it.
I
mean,
know. Yeah.
I was also thinking of how in Uzma's case, her mother was the glue which made it all happen so that Irfan could go and do what he could,
Keep the family.
Yeah, but had she been a woman in real estate herself, I wonder if all this could have been achieved. So I feel women should enjoy home. They should enjoy whatever career they got.
very
And they
well.
should
I mean,
enjoy
yeah.
everything.
And women also are the glue to a family and to society.
Yes, and enjoy that. Also, you don't have to have a career which is tops all the time.
Be a
you
good
know.
It's that finding joy and balance.
Yes.
It's about that. I'm sure most people
And I
in
feel
this
it's
room, you're not happy
unfortunate
with
that
only one.
men don't have that option nowadays. That
Yeah, very
they
true.
can have that. They have to prove themselves in the career, poor things.
What to do?
Whereas we can enjoy both, and at least the privileged people like us.
There's this whole testosterone thing. That's the whole problem.
Women fight for it. Women fight to get that place. Men
Yeah.
don't know how to fight for it.
No, but
Yeah,
it's,
but-
See men going and asking them, tomorrow I wear dhoti, I wear sari. Men don't do that. We did that when we started wearing jeans.
Yeah, but men don't have a choice. They have
They
to
don't
be
have
the
a choice.
breadwinners.
I feel sorry for them. I feel
Actually, she's right. There's a lot of social pressure.
Aparna, we like, on behalf of all mankind, I should accept that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
At least the privileged women like us have it
Yeah.
in a platter. We have everything.
No,
It's only the
just
others who
Last
don't.
week I was reading, towards gender parity. It's slowly happening. I mean, from the suffrage movement to where women war, there's like this, and in the knowledge sector, it's happening. There's actually a study out there done by a multinational firm that we will hit true gender parity. Actually, there's a year for it, 2140. 2140, women and men will be on an equal footing in some crazy way. Okay, well, I want to just come. So, when I read that, I said the thing that struck me was, in this city, we have actually hit gender parity in one area. Can you guess what it is? It is the RCB cricket team. The men and the women are performing the same. So we have already hit gender parity in the RCB cricket team for sure, while we wait for gender parity to happen elsewhere. Uzma, moving on quickly, and then I want to just get some larger lessons. Now you also look after the UB City, apart from Sublime, where you have your 5 verticals and all that. UB City, in a sense, retail and all that. So these were choices that you made saying that this is what you'd like to do, or were these family choices?
I was just called back. I was told, okay, you're
Nothing came
finishing
back.
your thing. I came back. So I went to my father, okay, I'm back here. What do you want me to do? No, beta, you go find yourself. And I'm so happy he did that. If he had to say like, okay, because I found my passion. I found my calling. And I wouldn't have been what I am today and doing what I'm doing today and doing so many things. Nothing was handed to me on a silver platter. Everything that I saw was an opportunity that I grabbed. Like you said, you went and told how to do things. So I saw UB City Luxury Mall and who's managing it, how is it being managed? Because it's all about psychology, ego, all of it. So I saw that opportunity. I said, no, I want to manage it. I want to do the leasing, all of it. Corporate communications in 2006-07 was very nascent in India. Nobody paid attention. Branding was not important. PR was not important. I said prestige has grown. It's not only a brand which is in Bangalore. We are in the south of India, and Prestige does not care how their logo is. I brought the whole brand manual, put it together. We depended on several agencies paying commission. I said no. Today I have a team of 32 people who handle the branding. So everything from corporate branding to your every touch point to a customer, whether it's a logo for a thing or a brochure, website, social media, everything is done in-house. So the entire corp, Sublime has 6 verticals, which that's my passion. And I manage UBCity, yes.
Vyoma, just quick thing, when you went into your own business, you were telling me that when you go for some meetings with your partner, who's a man, there is a tendency for people to still deal with him. Just talk us through that.
So, there's this mostly real estate as a community, and especially the kind of developers we deal with. We mostly work with tier B kind of developers, Sterling being an exception. There's no categorization I'm trying to do here. But the fact is that these are teams which do not have, a large infrastructure or more than 4-5 projects running, etc. And most of these people in real estate are still coming from either a land background, or an architecture, or not architecture also, very few in that, but most of these people come from a land or a finance background. And these are men who are used to making their own decisions, and these are men who are not used to being argued against. So the first step is when you go as an external vendor and tell them that, hey, you really need to do some job on your sales and marketing. You'll not be able to sell like this, and your cash flow is in a mess. Okay, so one, talking numbers as an external person and saying that with this kind of cash flow management, you're not going to be able to deliver your project on time, you need help. So ek to point number 1 hit on ego happens there, right? Second thing is, and then if there's a woman in the room talking about how a lot of things are going wrong in your company and you need help about that, it becomes even more difficult, right? So there are times when
it becomes more difficult because it's all true.
It's all true also, right? And nobody wants to acknowledge, right? And we are still a vendor, we are a minion, right? Hi, Anushri, I didn't see you there. Thanks for coming. So that's Anushri from my team. She just came in. Yeah. So at that time, what also happens is, the blow is softened a little bit if it's coming from a man, right? And you can literally see those subtle things in eye contact being shifted from you to your partner, saying that, okay, do you concur with what she's saying? Because if you do, I'm going to take you more seriously, right? So it does happen. And there are times when, to be able to, and I've learned aggression over a period of time in the career, right? Had to take a lot of decisions on firing people. I was never good at that, right? So in Sriram especially, it was a high growth environment. We were there to deliver, and it was more about taking the company from, say, 1 to 5x, 1x to 5x in a very, very short period of time, and had to take hard decisions on firing people, on taking bold calls, on accepting losses, on going to promoters and saying, we failed at this, we screwed up, and a lot of those things. So over a period of time, you learn how to be a little too aggressive. You have to become a little too aggressive to kind of camouflage the weakness that you have. Right? So at times, even the developers I work with today, they sometimes call my partner saying, Vyoma ka call aaya tha, ekdam piche pad gayi hai ki ye chahiye, and can do you conquer? And yeah, literally. Okay, there are times when developers have said that, hey, can you deal with me instead of she dealing with me, because she insists on things too much and too hard.
And if you're listening to here and I'm meeting you for the first time, I can imagine people telling your partner saying, "Isko mat bhejo."
It is that to get work done, you have to persist, and there are times when people are not used to things
and
like
also
that.
When the end goal is important, you have to do what you have to do.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's your job. They got you to deliver an output. You have to do what it takes.
So one last question to the group before we go for question time. I want each of you to answer one question. What have you done, or what do you intend to do to get more women leaders in the space that you operate into leadership roles? So either you might have already taken steps to get more women into the leadership from middle management to senior, or you have a plan, maybe it needs some runway and some time, because the hypothesis here really is men will work, to do what they do, and there is a certain disparity. But I want to understand what women are doing to get more women leaders. I'm really talking about leadership positions and not the rank and file, which is happening, I know. Whoever wants to go first.
So incidentally, we are launching an initiative at Flow called on similar lines, Wired. We just announced it around the same time. Around the same time.
I must give you a story. I changed the title, if you notice, from Wired to Wired. The reason is apparently there's an organization called Wired.
There.
And they rang up saying we have the IP on the word Wired. They don't have there's even a magazine called The Wired. But anyway, I said, chalo, I'll put one D and call it Women in Real Estate Development. And of course, there's a Wired magazine in the US. But carry on.
I saw that and then we were like, we are so small, they're not going to contact us anyway. If we become meaningful, we'll rename ourselves. Right. So we're launching it this year. Next week is our first event.
It's a nice pun, Wired. In terms
Yeah. So we're doing this as an initiative, hopefully year round.
So what will happen in the initiative?
So to begin with, we're going to, of course, have some people in real estate, some women coming and talking. And we intend to start with something like a WhatsApp community or a Facebook community to begin with in Bangalore, women in real estate, to exchange thoughts, ideas, constraints that they're having. Every quarter, we intend to have a small gathering and a talk by an expert, help them with upskilling, help them with career counseling. If there's some of them specifically facing a roadblock in their career, could be related to maternity, could be related to, how to get noticed in their corporate circles, etc. Could be related to upskilling. So we're trying to at least hear the issues to begin with. To be honest, I'm not aware of what issues are going out there. So the first step is to hear what are the issues, right? And get the forum to answer it by itself,
So that they among themselves.
Yeah,
I'm
among
actually
themselves.
a consultant in my earlier life, and I'll give you some unpaid advice. Get people from other sectors also to come and engage, because cross-pollination is the way to go. There'll be success stories elsewhere from which you could learn, because this is relatively nascent in the sector that you are in. Aparna, do you want to go about women leaders?
See, I'm not really sure whether I want particularly women leaders or anything.
Obviously you're going for the competent people, but is an effort required to make sure that more women...
I just feel it's the attitude towards women that has to change. Whether they rise or not is like you said, it's a function of their merit. So the attitude towards, there should be an environment in which women leaders can rise, and the attitude towards them from other management people. That's one thing. And the second is, in this real estate, the thing is also, it's a construction industry. Okay, finally, as consultants, architectural consultants, I'm saying one has to be in the site. You have to get a product. It's not just an ideas industry. You have to have the final product come up, and that product is built by labor. And they're not all skilled labor. Skilled labor is slightly better, but you have unskilled labor also. Their attitudes you cannot change. It's not like interiors, and this is construction, and their attitudes. And once you have to get this building built in so much time, they should listen to you. No, they don't want to listen to you. They want to listen to one site engineer who's a guy. So and you giving expert opinions is totally discounted. So their attitude.
Any site engineers who are ladies? Any of you?
No, but architects manage the site engineers, so that's they know everything. The women know everything, but to go on, so you have to change it at the lower level, and you have to change it at the management. The attitude has to change. Then women will rise. It doesn't. I'm not particularly interested in women being top managerial positions, because they have so many other things to do in life.
Last words, Uzma.
I believe that women have a lot of talent, and at Prestige we definitely embrace that, and we hire, actually now our thing is not a 50-50 ratio. Yesterday we celebrated Women's Day. It was so good to see so many women in our organization, because we have so many different verticals. Our entire CRM team is a women driven team, and they're doing brilliantly well. We have tied up with many programs which help them. We have a mentorship program, we have an ed learning online, and there is a thing of the next in line, so mentoring into the next in line. I think women can balance so many things like work, home, children, issues, drama, and they really do it very well, and we need to give them that opportunity, however, and we are doing that at Prestige in many ways.
Thank you. Thank you to my fellow panelists for this. Anybody with questions, we're open for any questions. Will you, Murli, just give the mic to Murli, please.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It was a very wonderful session. Thanks Ravi for organizing this. We have been working together trying to make Bangalore walkable and cyclable. So he's kind of like walking man. So basically one thing that I observe is like this real estate, whatever it comes, right? How do we enable more of active mobility, walking and cycling friendly, so that generally woman takes 3 trips, elderly care, child care, and also office, so that the woman is having more space for cycling and walking. So how do you think the real estate industry can change within?
Yeah, I got the question. So Aparna, actually you might be best placed because, so really he's talking about how can our public spaces be imagined in a manner that encourages walking, cycling, safe for women, and what will it take for us as a city? Obviously, it involves intersection with the government, but what could the people like you, and I know Naresh does a lot of that in terms of suggestions, so I think that's the question.
Yeah, nice point that you've raised. Firstly, all the standard safety and security is the primary thing, that exclusively pedestrian spaces which are well lit and, you don't get all the elements that make you not want to go out. So that's the first thing. And if you see any photographs of public spaces in the city, even if you drive past Kaban Park or Lal Bagh, you'll see all those benches that are used by men who will be sleeping there or sitting around there, but it's never a woman who can even dare to sleep in that bench or sit there by herself. When that is not happening, that means we're still far away. We just miss that. We just think it's the natural thing to do. But you never see a woman sit alone at a Darshini restaurant. So it has to be a very fancy restaurant, then she'll be there. But if it's a regular space, like chai shop, little potti kada, or a bench on the street, you don't see women and alone by themselves. When that changes, everything will change.
That's attitude of people, right?
Yeah. Here. And then there, after that.
This question is to any or all of you. When women work, most of them come back at the end of the day seething about something or the other. And many of them say that what helps them get by is a sense of humor. So can you talk about that a bit? Situations where, it's... in fact, I remember somebody being selected for a very important position in the women's program because she had a sense of humor. Because every day she would go home seething and she needed something to preserve herself. So could you talk a little about the importance of a sense of humor for working women?
And how you unwind, because, or do you have a punching bag that you go in?
No, it's not just unwind, it's a way you look at things.
I don't know if I really feel anybody who has a sense of humor, I don't know about unwinding or getting out of that seething. It's just that anybody who has a sense of humor is always a powerful person. They are above the situation. So that's a result of only that. If you are the underdog, if you are not that, then you won't be seeing humor and everything. Vyoma was able to just say that, through her own experience, she was able to put it in a way, the failings of others and how she tackled it was put in a way that shows that she was actually above the situation. So it's just that.
Yeah, and I feel generally as women, what also happens is, if you look at the stress levels through a day, right? There's always something breaking. Always. सुबह या तो दरवाजा खोला दूध नहीं आया, right? And kid is not waking up for school bus miss ho gaya. There are those 2 hours in a day where men can do yoga, but, women have to do different forms of yoga, right? And then you have to stay fit also because, you have to do your own yoga and workout and all of that as well. So there's always a morning race against time and small things breaking, which might not be meaningful for many, but they are meaningful for that person, for that woman out there. At work, of course, they have almost the same level of issues as regardless of gender, right? In the evening, you come home, you have something to take care of at home. It's not like you can come put your feet up. Even if you have a help at home, you cannot put your feet up and just say, hey, I'll watch TV and have a drink, and sleep. So generally, I feel that female brains are more wired to absorb stress and also have their own mechanism of lighting up the mood and, taking things in a little more humorous way, I also think another thing that plays a role, has played for me, has been having become a mother. Right? So when there is a child in your life, you have different ways of relaxing, of laughing with them, of seeing the world from a different perspective, from a less stressful perspective or a less judgmental perspective. So I think that way, whether you have a sense of humor or not, I think that's the only way probably women can cope up without getting as stressed. And I genuinely feel that if men had to multitask as much or have to take care of so many things in their life, they'll always be stressed. You can put a man in that situation for a day and see, he'll take like 3 large and, be done by the end of the day.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Dipakshi, and I'm also into the same field. I'm sort of in a bottommost. So I'm a contractor and I'm running a contracting firm.
Wow. Yeah. I wish I had known earlier, you would have been on this.
So it is crazy, and what I felt in my journey of about 10 years, my dad was running this business and sort of he slowed down, and then I wanted to take it up from here. So it was a crazy journey. But I felt that yes, if you're a woman and you want to prove yourself, you will do it anyway. So this applies even to men. I've seen people who just don't want to do, and people who want to do it will do it. But the way men have supported me in this journey, all kinds. There were people who didn't and there were people who did. But the people who did were more in my life, luckily. So I've come up the ladder, and then, people have started directly calling me. So there was my uncle also who's involved, but they're like, nahi, agar Lipakshi hai, so we don't have to worry. The work is done. So my question to you is, do you see, just before the question, I've seen a lot of women not supporting that. So I have seen a lot of women like, "Arey, ye kya kaam kari?" I have a kid, and then I've seen my family telling, "Arey, uska bachcha to wo dekh rahi hai na. That's why she can go and work." ठीक है, my bachcha somebody else is seeing, but this is all my hard work and my passion to do it. That nobody is seeing. It's just that my journey is so much. So what I wanted to ask you all is, how is it, do you have any women in your life who has sort of inspired you to do what you are? Because my mom has inspired me to become what I am, or rather to stand on my feet and not be dependent on anybody. That was the main agenda. That was my first target. Ki I don't want to be dependent on my husband. That was my first the start point of getting into the business. So is there somebody in your life who sort of, and as women, and I also, that's one question, and then I feel that as women, we need to stand up for each other more. I think we are doing that a little less. I see a lot of bitching. I'm not saying men don't do, they do it way more than us. But if we want to grow together, or that 2140 has to be achieved, that needs to start like now.
Yeah.
So
one is about the sisterhood, because sometimes the woman's worst enemies are fellow women.
Yeah.
And that is also, it's another kind of statement. So the question, I think, and of course, I think this group is firstly hugely admiring what you do, because
most definitely, absolutely, kudos.
Running a business.
We were just talking about we didn't find a woman site engineer. Here's a contractor running her own company.
But any advice for her? Anybody, people who, when you fell down, were there a woman who said, "Don't give up, go for it"? That's really, I think, what she's trying to. Who are your support system saying, "Don't give up"? Any experiences on the dais?
I think all of us here, if I may speak for everybody here, we've all been fairly privileged, to be very honest, okay? All this women empowerment, feminism and all is for those lakhs of other women out there who do not come from such privileged backgrounds, who do not receive education like ours, who do not have, our parents have all been well educated. They've never differentiated between a boy child and a girl child. And, you know, all of our mothers and I'm sure mother-in-laws would have been extremely supportive of what we're doing, which is why we're here. But I think out there, of course, there are issues, and you're right that there are women who face pressure from their parents and in-laws and all to be able to be home to support the family and not go out and not go in a man's industry. And you know, if they start doing too much in a man's industry, questions are raised and all of that. But yeah, I think in this room, most of us are fortunate
And
enough.
no, since I can answer, you want to say?
Yeah, sorry.
Say that.
All I want to tell you, forget everyone. Listen to your heart. Only listen to you. There are a lot of people out there who want to bring you down. But you have to believe in yourself. First, believe in the Lord. The day I stopped listening, I was somewhere else. I'm a happier person because I live for myself. I'm happy. Happiness is from within. Nobody can create it for you. Until you have God's blessings and your family support, you don't need anything else. You don't need anyone else but yourself. So don't lose that hope.
I'll share my own personal anecdote. So Hema and a lot of that's my wife, and I said I'm known as Hema's husband. And in a lot of her talk, she keeps saying, choose your life partner well. Right?
I agree
So
200%.
So in my case, you know, we were workplace colleagues and we got married. And Hema always says, you know, when I married you, actually, you know, because she's from a Malayali royal family thing, she said, I thought I will be a kept woman by the husband, you know. And here I was actually goading her on to do greater and greater things. And then even when she wanted to leave the workspace and come back, etc., I said, no. In fact, both our kids, she went back to work the third month after, as soon as the maternity leave ended. And I attended all the parent-teachers meetings. So that was really the whole approach, that it's a team. And you just have to go for it. So sometimes it could be a fellow woman, sometimes it can be the partner, it could be others. But it's extremely important to realize that it's a team and go for it. And Hema now, of course, is a very happy person in terms of thing. But every time you're asking me to go back, I said yes, and I will do everything that is expected of you. And that's really what's required from the support system.
Absolutely, I agree.
And as far as other women pulling you down, that point that you raised, it could be other men or other women. It's just that they happen to be women also.
Yeah, so I've just seen in my journey, like I used to travel around, me and my husband used to stay separately. So my condition of marriage was that I'm not going to leave the business come what may. I'm going to continue this and take this further. So we had to stay in Mumbai and Bangalore for about 2-3 years. So I had to travel with my kid. I've seen small things. Like I have seen a guy coming to me and taking my kid or holding my bag for me, but I've not seen a lady do that. So I have those are things, just small things which we need to change. I've had a lady sit with me in the aircraft and she's like, please ask your son to move his feet. I mean, he's just like a toddler. He's not even a toddler. He's just like 7 months old. So those things is what sort of got me thinking probably we are not doing enough to join together.
Yeah, it's a part of it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the very fascinating presentation. My question is concerning the challenge of real estate industry across the world of being green, environmentally friendly and sustainable. And they found out that when you have women leadership, for example, in New Zealand, the Prime Minister, or in Finland, or in European Commission, there is a more forward-looking impetus. There is more drive to implement green, sustainable solutions. So is there anything you'd like to share in the Indian real estate industry, how women leadership is driving towards a more sustainable future? Thank you.
You want to go?
To be very, very honest, there's no correlation. Women are in the industry and this green and sustainable practices is a thing by itself. I don't see, it'll be very forced idea to correlate them. honestly. Because in developing countries like ours, if sustainable and green practices are also revenue building, it'll work. That's all I can say.
Okay. The last question and then we close. Yeah. The mic here, please.
I just have to say one thing that I'm really proud of you all. Yeah. I'd like to say that.
And did I do a good job as a moderator?
Of course.
Yeah. About the guy on the panel, yeah.
When you cut in between, I can't say that. I'm sorry.
No, but really, we are like Vyoma said, we are just the privileged lot who have a choice.
Yes, but you shouldn't like someone being proud of you. How many times have you heard that?
I really feel so
thank you
privileged.
so much. It
Like you
means
said,
a
we are
lot.
all that. We have that imposter syndrome. I feel like, really, we have a choice. But there are so many people. I'm sure in your teams also, like in our office also.
Women just acknowledge that.
Yeah, thank you so
Happy,
much.
Aparna.
Thank
Don't
you.
look at gift horse in the mouth. That's what basically she said.
Thank you.
Women just acknowledge that you've done amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You have your support group there, right in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Great panel, great moderator. So I got a few takeaways from here, like how to navigate yourself as a woman through a male-dominated setup, or how to manage a male workforce. So, do you have any tips on how to manage a woman workforce?
Don't let them manipulate you. Okay? The moment they're being extremely nice to you, there's an agenda. No, just jokes. Just jokes.
Master manipulator speaking.
No, jokes aside, I think it is, not just real estate, everywhere. I think first thing that needs to happen is break the gender barriers in the head, right? So a lot of people come with these preconceived notions ki men are better for this role and women are better for this role. And India has come a long way, so has the world, in bringing gender in the way of talent. Right, so there have been roles which women used to traditionally not do, and it used to be regarding brawn and not the brain. And like brain is there, you can have women there, whereas brawn they cannot. So India has come a very, very long way from that. And the first thing you could do is, number one, in women, largely women-led teams, one thing that's extremely important is flexibility. Again, like I said, we come from privileged families. We have help at home. We can afford help at home. We have parents and in-laws who support us a lot, but not every woman is lucky to have that, right? So maternity comes in the way. Women are expected to be there for the kid to bring them up. So in India, I think a lot of all these software-led industries have good maternity policies, but a lot of traditional industries don't. So one very, very important thing is to, number one, have manageable work hours. And number two, have actually implementable and fair maternity policies, which will also go a long way in keeping women happy, productive at the workplace, and also helping them rise in the leadership roles, right? But a lot of things I have seen is it has to come from within. There are people who say that, okay, I cannot do this because, I have a constraint, and that's more in their head. It is not somebody at home who's stopping you from doing it. If you want to do it, you will find a way out of rising in your career and taking people along with you. Yeah.
My last question. You wanted to ask a
I
question.
actually have a question. I just wanted
Come
to
in.
say something, just wanted to add to everything that's been said. And it goes very well with, I'm sure we're all very fortunate to be here today. I had a career in Thomas Cook for the better part of my life. My second career was in real estate.
Oh, wow.
So, and I didn't really want to be there, like somebody said, it's murky and it's dodgy and whatever else. And then I had a friend, and mostly friends are very rude and frank, and she said, don't sit on a high horse, you're not going to get a Thomas Cook job again, come with me. And so she took me to a professionally run organization. And it's interesting to say, but a lot of the men over there wanted a lady to go with them to make a presentation or make a pitch, because they felt it added to a certain amount of credibility to that. So it wasn't like if a woman spoke, it would be, against the norm. So I just wanted to say, because it is from the real estate, and And I found it very funny. I said, I don't know half the things you know. This isn't what I've done as a career. So I don't think I'm going to add value, but they said, you will. And the truth is that I learned a lot because of that. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Didi.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for hanging in till the end. And thank you, Pandit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravi, for being a wonderful host.
Fantastic.